You are a narcissist. Part 1. There comes a point when you have established that you are dealing with an individual who is a narcissist. And of course, the most effective way to determine that is to utilize my narc detector consultation. It is often very tempting when you have ascertained that you are dealing with a narcissist to want to tell that person that you know what they are. The issue about the state of awareness of our kind is a central piece of the puzzle. Victims invariably struggle with the proposition that somebody behaves in a way but does not yet see what they're doing. How can't he realize what he's doing? How can he not see that his behavior is wrong? How can he not accept that I am right when I show him this evidence? How can he not grasp that it's him and not me that's causing the problems? How can he not recognize that he is being selfish, hurtful, abusive? How can someone not know that they are behaving in this manner? It's highly likely that such questions have flashed through your mind at some point. The awareness of what we are dovetails with your awareness of what we are. Next to nobody spots our kind when we first entangle with you. Even if you have been ensnared by one of our kind already, you do stand a good chance of being ensnared a second time, or a third time, or a fourth time. Often the realization as to what has happened to you may not take place for many years after the event, or once disengagement has occurred. You may realize that you have been entangled with a narcissist during your devaluation, or more likely when we return looking to effect a post-disengagement or post-escape hoover. Almost without exception, once you have realized who you have become entangled with, you have an overwhelming desire to tell us that you know what we are. This is driven by the fact that you often can't comprehend how we cannot see it, and driven by the corruption of your truth-seeking empathic trait, and sometimes by the corruption of your compassionate empathic trait or your empathic desire to heal and fix. Those traits are corrupted to cause you to want to tell us that you know what we are. Sometimes it's driven by just demonstrating to us that you know. You want us to know that we know what you are. Sometimes, with some empaths, it's driven by a need to say, look, I know what you are, but we can work this out. We can deal with this. We can work together. We can resolve it. Now I know what I'm dealing with. I can accommodate that. Of course, that is not logical, because you cannot accommodate the narcissist, and nor should you. Sometimes the desire to tell us that you know that we are a narcissist is driven by the corruption of your empathic trait of justice. You want us to understand that we know what you are, and that there will be some form of retribution visited upon you because we now have that knowledge. It often feels like a moment of triumph for you that you realize, aha, this person is a narcissist. I'm going to tell them I know precisely what he or she is. You've been advised by an outside influence, or you've read extensively, and so many of our behaviours match with that of the narcissist. You've had your aha moment, or even better, as I say, you've utilised my narc detector. And whilst your head may still be swimming from the experience and your heart is pulled all over the place, and you have so many questions that remain unanswered, you know what we are. You have acquired that knowledge, And now, driven by emotional thinking and the corruption of the relevant empathic traits, you are going to unmask us by telling us straight that you know what we are. It's time for you to strike a long, overdue blow against us. Thus, armed with this knowledge, what can you expect to happen? What will the narcissist do when you say to the narcissist, I know you are a narcissist? There is, of course, no one-size-fits-all answer. It very much depends upon the school of the narcissist that you're dealing with. And therefore, let us begin with the lesser narcissist. If you are dealing with a lesser narcissist, lower lesser, middle lesser, upper lesser type A, upper lesser type B, what is the response of that individual to the accusation of you are a narcissist? The lesser narcissist does not know what he is. He operates through instinct, reaction, and knee-jerk responses. If you tell a lesser narcissist that he is a narcissist, chances are he may not even understand what you mean. If you have expressed this knowledge in an almost fuel-free fashion, if he doesn't understand what one is, your comment will challenge his sense of control, and you'll be met with a response from the narcissist to try and assert control over you, to quash the threat that your observation is making. You'll be met with comments such as, why are you using fancy words all of a sudden? Or, what are you using dictionary words for? Are you trying to make out that you're somehow better than me? The lesser narcissist's inability to understand what you mean will be perceived by him as a criticism of him, and thus, at an unconscious level, threaten his control. He will lash out at you as he instinctively seeks to assert control over you directly and to seek fuel for the purpose of healing the wounding that you're causing. He does not know the real reason why this is happening, nor does he understand his reaction, but this is what will happen. If you happen to have gained your awareness from a book and you're showing it to him to justify the label of narcissist, expect that book to be torn in half or thrown on a fire as part of this knee-jerk response. Even if a lesser has some understanding of what a narcissist actually is, he will not see it as applicable to him. He will probably think it means somebody who loves themselves, thinks highly of themselves, and therefore his limited understanding can expect a response such as, are you saying that I love myself? Pfft, guess I have to, because you don't anymore, do you? Or, I love myself. You've got some cheek. Have you seen the way that you go on, preening yourself and swanning around like you own the place? Those responses are a direct assertion of control as a consequence of the threat that you have caused to his control. He is responding with insult, projection, blame-shifting. The lesser looks to deflect this threat to his control by turning the position around in an instinctive response and engaging in blame-shifting against you. The lesser will seize on any evidence to hand which shows that you are the one that is engaging in self-love and not him. So, if you have bought some new clothing, for instance, you can expect that to be brought up and you'll be challenged for your spending habits. Look at you. You say, I love myself, you love yourself, look how much you spend on clothing. Said clothing is likely to be ripped up or thrown away. If you perhaps have a range of potions and lotions that you use as part of your beauty regime, these again will be seized on as evidence by the lesser that you're the one that loves yourself and not him. And they'll be thrown around the room, poured down the sink or smashed up. The lesser narcissist will not and cannot accept, because of his narcissism, that he is a narcissist. He does not know what he is, and therefore has no awareness whatsoever. The narcissism, as a hermetically sealed self-defense mechanism, cannot allow him to see what he actually is. Accordingly, if you attempt to educate him by explaining the various traits and behaviors of narcissism and then link it to the way that he behaves, then all you're doing is challenging him, threatening his control. You're giving him challenge fuel, and you'll be just met with deflection and denial. So, for instance, if you were to say, look, I am just trying to get you to see that when you go out and disappear drinking before coming home and demanding sex, you're not showing any thought for me. You're ignoring my boundaries. Look, that's the behavior of a narcissist. You'll be met with, oh, so I'm not allowed to go out drinking now, am I? Or, I don't demand sex. You never give me any as it is. And anyway, you should. What's got into you these days? Are you getting it somewhere else? Are you seeing someone else? Boundaries, narcissist. Who's been filling your head with this shit? I bet it was Lucy, wasn't it? That friend of yours has never liked me. The attempt to convey this information to the lesser, lower lesser and middle lesser being of very low cognitive function, upper lessers possibly of higher cognitive function, although not always necessarily, means that these words will just bounce off. You are trying to make the blind see, and you will fail. As you continue to challenge the narcissist and threaten the narcissist's control, you will witness the paranoia, blame-shifting, denial, projection, and deflection as the lesser narcissist avoids discussing the issue. It does not register with him or her at all. No matter how obvious it may seem to you, he or she cannot grasp that he or she can be at any fault. It may be as plain as day to you that narcissistic behavior matches exactly with what he or she does, but for all your explaining, he or she will not accept it. First of all, the narcissist does not, because he doesn't know what he is, and therefore he lacks the capacity to accept it. Secondly, even if he could accept the capacity, he will not, because of the self-defense mechanism that narcissism is, namely, to preserve control by ensuring that he is not accountable. To label him a narcissist, you are making him accountable in some way, and that threatens his control. The denial and deflection will continue until you show signs of exasperation, upset, or anger, this providing fuel. And then the narcissist will push further to get more fuel from you through your responses. If your questioning persists, the narcissist will continue to assert control over you, for which you will be blamed, and this may well result in verbal violence, destruction of property, and physical violence as well. The lesser's rampant paranoia will convince him that you are trying to catch him out in a way which he doesn't understand, and nor can he, and all he knows is that he feels a sense of considerable discomfort. He doesn't know that this is caused by his failure to assert control. He doesn't know that it is caused by your threat to his control. He doesn't know that it's because his fuel is being drained by your repeated challenges to him. He will instinctively need to protect himself, and this means asserting control over you and gaining fuel from you. He needs to head off your oh-so-clever comments, hence the denial and deflection, all part of asserting control over you. If you persist with pointing out what he is, and you will not back down, he will shift to an alternative method of asserting control, which will mean invariably withdrawing from you and seeking fuel elsewhere. What about turning tables on you and accusing you of being a narcissist? Whilst this can happen, a lesser is unlikely to accuse you of being a narcissist because he has no real understanding of what you're referring to. He will invariably lack the cognitive function to recognize the behaviors and then try and apply them to you. What he may do, however, is throw back at you the constituent parts which you identify as narcissistic behaviors. This is to defend himself from the threat to control that you are exhibiting towards him. This is to defend himself because he cannot be accountable for any kind of failure or weakness because this threatens his control. This is then done to try and cause you to react to the allegations against you, so you give him fuel and control. You end up justifying that you are not the narcissist. Thus, he is, through instinct rather than calculated design, able to assert control over you, to stop the threat to his control from what you're saying, and to gain fuel into the bargain. As you protect yourself about how you do not love yourself, that you care about him and other people, that you recognise boundaries and so forth. So the lesser is unlikely to say, no, you are the narcissist, but rather turn around and say, I'm not the one that loves myself, you're the one that loves yourself. Or, I'm not the one that tramples over boundaries, you're the one that tramples over boundaries. And you'll be forced into defending yourself, because your emotional thinking will rise as a consequence of this interaction, corrupting your empathic trait of being a truth seeker, so you try to get the narcissist to understand that you are not a narcissist. You will never, ever convince a lesser narcissist that he is one. He just cannot comprehend it. That is why, although his behaviours will invariably match those of our kind, he just cannot see it. He has no insight whatsoever. All you will do is threaten his control by the provision of challenge fuel, causing him to defend himself. And this will cause him to lash out at you. Do not ever waste your time trying to convince the narcissist that he or she is one. You will always fail. Do not engage. Do not explain that the individual is a narcissist. Remove yourself. It is for you to know. It is not for you to tell the narcissist that you know what he or she is. The knowledge is for your use to protect you. It is not there for you to use it to attack the narcissist, because that is contrary to the principles of no contact and will only result in an adverse outcome for you and an advantageous one for the narcissist.